welcome back. The Cubs added super utility man Ben Zobrist with a 4-year, $56 million deal. The 34-year-old started last season in Oakland before being dealt to the Royals, where he was a key cog in Kansas City's championship run. Zobrist will have a familiar face in manager Joe Maddon. The two arrived in Tampa together back in 2006, which was Zobrist's rookie season and Maddon's first as manager with the Rays. And the Cubs have traded three-time All-Star Starling Castro to the Yankees, where he'll be their second baseman. Castro, of course, lost his starting spot last season at shortstop for his Cubs career. The 25-year-old hit .281 with 62 home runs and 363 RBIs over 6 seasons. In return, the Cubs get reliever Adam Warren and infielder Brendan Ryan. The Yankees will pay the remaining $38 million on Castro's contract.
We couldn't have made this free agent signing without this trade, and would not have made this trade without the free agent signing. So first and foremost, I want to thank Starlin for all his contributions as a Cub. You know, it's been an incredible 9-year run for him in this organization. He really grew up in this organization, went through a lot here, made tremendous positive contributions to help get us to where we are. That said, you know, it was an opportunity to trade, essentially, as we look at it, to trade Starlin for Ben Zobrist and Adam Warren, and that's something that in our situation made a lot of sense for us with how we're constituted in 2016 and going forward.
Here in Nashville for day 2 of the winter meetings alongside our CSN Cubs insider Patrick Mooney, and the Cubs making some fireworks here on day 2. Just tie a bow on what this means for Castro and his days as a Cub.
Well, I think Starlin Castro is someone who had been a lightning rod for a long time, and that a lot of that was probably unfair. He was thrust into the situation at the age of 20, I believe. Now has almost 1,000 hits before his 26th birthday, and I think there are times where he's underappreciated. There are times where he lost focus in the field and deserved that. But I think ultimately, you look at the end of Starlin's career in Chicago and just the way he handled Addison Russell taking over at shortstop, taking the news from Joe Maddon and really reinventing himself to a point where the Cubs don't get to the NLCS without Starlin Castro being this dynamic second baseman. And certainly the Yankees had been on him for a long time. They noticed that transition. They thought he would fit well in the Bronx. And so Starlin Castro always wanted to be there when the Cubs turned, to be on that team that won the World Series. He doesn't get to that point, but he's certainly, you know, it was a huge part of building the Cubs back up into a playoff team faster than anyone thought that last year.
Able then to go after Ben Zobrist, a guy that they had been looking at for quite some time, and certainly one that I think Theo Epstein, when we just talked to him, is very excited to see what he can do with the rest of this Cubs roster.
Yeah, I think if you look at, I think Theo made a great point of what Ben Zobrist did in October against the best pitching in the world. He helped the Royals, you know, win a title, and that's really why he's coming here now. And that's obviously been the appeal that people have talked about for a long time. There's this long-standing relationship with Joe Maddon, who knows how to put him in the right places, and he lives not somewhere here, not too far from
right.
from here. So obviously that's a close trip to Chicago. So this is one of, you know, his top place to come to. And I think it's a really good kind of short-term fit now, and I think Starlin Castro is going to have a really nice long career.
Yeah.
But I think the Cubs were in a place where they could afford to wait on Starlin or figure out whether, you know, which Starlin was going to be there next year. So the Cubs are really, you know, going for it in 2016 while still, you know, maintaining some flexibility, you know, down the road, because they still have this opening in center. I think there's still some, you know, big moves they have in mind, and we'll see if they can pull them off.
Thanks, guys. Another name that has surfaced in trade talks is Javier Baez. But with the acquisition of Ben Zobrist, it appears the Cubs will hold on to the young slugger. Theo Epstein was asked about the possibility of Ben Zobrist being a mentor to Baez in the upcoming season.
Going forward, I think long term this will provide a little bit of more opportunity for Javi Baez as well, with Zobrist's flexibility and ability to play all over the field. I think, you know, if you look at the corner outfield, you know, a lot of days we're going to have Kyle Schwarber out there, who's just learning the position, and Jorge Soler, who you know, hasn't quite managed to play the full 162-game season yet, but I think he will to go with Coughlin. So I think, Zobrist protects us all over the infield as well as the outfield, and this really fits on our club.
It was big news 2 years ago when Jose Abreu defected from Cuba to come and play baseball for the White Sox. He's literally been a big hit from day one of his major league career and a key piece to the Sox lineup. And now Abreu will return to his native country as part of Major League Baseball's Goodwill Tour next week. Free agent Alexi Ramirez, who played for the White Sox after leaving Cuba 7 years ago, will reportedly also be part of the group. For more on the White Sox, here's Chuck Garfien from the winter meetings.
White Sox fans were not happy, to say the least, about the 2015 season, and a lot of the criticism was directed at Robin Ventura, who admits this is pretty much a make-or-break season for him entering the final year of his contract. And after 3 straight losing seasons, I asked Ventura if he felt like he was almost going to get fired after the 2015 season.
That's always a possibility. I think anytime you're in this position, that comes up, and people talk about it, but it doesn't change. For me, it doesn't change. I never ever asked for an extension in the last year of my contract as a player, and I'm not going to change that way now. It's just part of going in, and it is what it is.
The first position the White Sox were able to fix this offseason was catcher. They said goodbye to Tyler Flowers and brought in Alex Avila and Deanna Navarro. Flowers is set to sign with the Braves. The Sox pitching staff loved him. The problem was the bat. And I asked Don Cooper if he was surprised the White Sox let him go.
No, not really, because people come and go. I mean, this is not like Burley leaving, I mean, Tyler did a nice job framing pitches behind the plate, and he certainly caught our guys well. But Tyler had trouble hitting the ball.
Cooper took the blame when asked about the struggles of Jeff Samardzija, saying, quote, "I failed." But there's more to the story than that.
Well, I think the elephant in the room with Jeff was he put a lot of pressure on himself. And I know some of our other pitchers did also, because we were having trouble, and they had to be really good. I think, him betting on himself for a long time and knowing that this was the big year, so to speak, I think he put a little too much pressure on himself. When I sit at home and think about baseball, it's one that I say, son of a gun. We just didn't get it done the way we wanted to.
Covering the White Sox at the winter meetings, Chuck Garfien, Comcast Sportsnet.
Thanks, Chuck. The Diamondbacks aren't done after